Imogen. Thanks for clicking on this video. I was recently talking to some of my friends who have moved into new places and kind of advising on what plants to put in their new homes, and it kind of gave me the idea to do this video about houseplants for beginners and my recommendations for kind of easy care, cheap, easily accessible plants. So I've got my top 5 plants and I'll talk about them and why I think they are great for beginners. So carry on watching if you'd like to see that. So first on my list is the peace lily. This is one of 2 plants that I have and it's really quite big, but hopefully you can still see it and me. But I think this is one of the kind of first plants that I had in my collection. I know my mum had a few when I was growing up, and also when I moved into this house, my boyfriend's mum actually got us another peace lily as a gift. This is kind of my original peace lily, which I think I probably got from IKEA. So that kind of brings me on to my first point, which is that peace lilies are really accessible and you can find them in lots of shops, at least in my experience here in the UK. We are currently in lockdown, so IKEA is actually closed, but when I've been there, when it was open, they've always had big trolleys full of peace lilies for just a few pounds, and it's for that reason that I think this plant is really good. Mine doesn't have any flowers at the moment, but it has done, I think, in sort of summertime. Even without the flowers, I think it's still quite an impressive looking plant that people would benefit from. From what I've found, it's quite easy to care for, especially if you are prone to overwatering. I found these to be quite tolerant of that, and both of my plants are constantly pushing out new growth, so it helps to make this a really nice bushy plant. I think these plants are also really good in terms of air purifying qualities. I seem to remember something about a NASA study about peace lilies in particular. I might be completely mistaken though, but even if that's not true, I think it's still a really great plant. Number 2 on my list is the humble snake plant. The snake plant is also known as mother-in-law's tongue, and I think were really popular in kind of the 70s and 80s, but they're still accessible now, and there's also more varieties available. This is a Sansevieria trifasciata black coral, which just has kind of stripy leaves. The reason why I kind of recommend this plant is because it is really low maintenance and easy to care for. For the most part, you can kind of forget about these plants and water them very sparingly and they'll be fine. Also, unlike a lot of other houseplants, these can do well in low light conditions, although they won't grow as fast as if they were in better, brighter light conditions. They are sort of a good plant to have if you have a place in your home without much natural light, but still want to have a plant in there. There's lots of different varieties of Sansevieria with different variegation patterns and shades of yellow and green, and ones which have a more sort of chunky, skinnier kind of leaf, as opposed to these more oval, pointy leaves. Again, like most of the other plants on this list, I found them to be easily available, both in terms of little ones like this, which I think I bought for maybe £5 or £6 from a plant shop, as well as ones that are up to 1 metre tall, which still won't set you back that much. I think I've seen ones that are maybe 60 centimetres tall for 20 quid, so an easy way to get quite a big plant into your home. So yeah, that's a snake plant. Next up is the one trailing plant that I have on this list, and that is the devil's ivy or Epipremnum Aureum. These are also known as Pothos, and there's quite a few different varieties. So this is just a sort of regular golden pothos, but I also have neon pothos, which are a bright yellowy green colour, as well as marble queen pothos, which have a white and green speckledy foliage. But this is my sort of big boy with lots of vines and really quite large leaves. I think pothos are a really good plant for lots of people and is one that I recommend, especially if you've got a shelf and want a plant on it. They grow really quickly, so if you want a kind of impressive looking plant, then this is a good one to go for, especially if you have a plant with lots of vines they will always be putting off new growth. I have actually cut this plant quite a lot to make propagations, which are kind of cuttings of a plant to grow into another plant, and it's still looking really healthy and full. I got this a couple of years ago from a local plant shop, but I know that IKEA sell Pothos now, and I've seen different varieties in supermarkets as well. I think Sainsbury's is a particularly good one for Pothos, and garden centres and specialist plant shops will definitely have lots. In terms of care, I've found Pothos to be really quite forgiving. Mine isn't looking its best right now. I have a few sort of crispy bits on some of the leaves, but that hasn't stopped it growing lots. And it's in a place with a fair amount of sunlight and watering it every so often. So again, I think this is a really good plant. The next plant is a spider plant. So this is another one that I think is quite retro and has been a common house plant for quite a few decades, but with good reason. It has lovely long leaves. This is a standard spider plant, but you can also get ones where the leaves are inverse, so with a yellow creamy colour down the middle and green on the outside, as well as curly spider plants where the leaves are all curled up like that. But this one's just your kind of bog standard spider plant. I actually got mine for free, so someone on my local plant swap group had lots of little ones and sort of put them out on their driveway and said, anyone who wants one, come and get it. And that kind of brings me on to one of the reasons I'm recommending this plant in particular, which is that it is really easy to grow big and get a few houseplants from it. So this plant puts out vines which have little babies on the end, as you can see. This one is also flowering, which is lovely. But when these get big, you can simply cut them off and plant up and you'll have another spider plant. So again, if you know someone with this plant, then get a little baby from them. But if you don't know anyone, I think these are still just a few pounds in supermarkets or plant shops. And then you can be that friend who passes on their spider plant babies to other people. My one is not looking its best at the moment. I have left it near a window and it's been susceptible to kind of burning when it's sunny and also being pressed up against cold glass when it's been cold weather here. In spite of that, it's so big and bushy that you can't really notice. And if I wanted, I could simply cut off the affected leaves and I know that it would still look fine. Spider plants do appreciate humidity, so this is actually a good one to put in a bathroom where it will get the humidity from when you have a shower, but I have also found that they're pretty happy anywhere, except maybe against a cold window. The final plant on my list is this, which is the Ficus Elastica, or the rubber plant. I have 3 rubber plants. This is my kind of medium-sized one, and it is a plant with lovely dark green foliage, which is really glossy and nice. I do also have a big rubber plant, which has green leaves with sort of yellow edges, and also a rubber plant with more pink toned foliage. I recommend this plant if you want a kind of sturdy, more tree type plant, as opposed to the more foliage heavy ones like the peace lily or devil's ivy. Like all of the other ones on this list, I found this to be pretty low maintenance. It just sits on my windowsill and I give it a water every so often. I bought this plant from Morrison's, which is a supermarket here in the UK, and at the same time I bought my big rubber tree, but I think quite a lot of supermarkets do stock these in different sizes. I think this was maybe £3 and it probably had 6 or so leaves, but even the bigger ones don't tend to get too expensive. The only issue that I've had with rubber plants is that the leaves can get quite dusty, but you just need to use a microfiber cloth or something to wipe them off every now and again and they'll be fine. I think it's the glossiness that kind of attracts the dust, but other than that I found them to be great houseplants. So there you go, my top 5 houseplants for beginners, which are easy care, easy maintenance and easily accessible. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you on Friday for another plant related video. Bye!